In this lab, we are going to hook up the Arduino Nano 33 BLE. First, we're going to hook up the TMP sensor to it, which is this temperature sensor here. We're going to hook that up to the Arduino. And so let's first wire this. So we have our breadboard here, there. And we're going to put in our Arduino into the breadboard, and I like to put it pretty close to the top so then I can plug in the micro USB cable to it very easily. If you put it way down here, it's harder to plug in the cable, and so I tend to put it in closer to the top there. And it is tough to push in. Sometimes it really doesn't want to go in. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so we have our Arduino Nano in. Fantastic. I don't think I broke it. I hope I didn't break it putting it in. All right, now we're going to need some jumper cables here. And I like to use consistent colors for the jumper cables. I like to use like red for my power cables, and I'm going to create a power line and a ground line. And so the power line, I'm going to have the red here. This whole thing along here will be power. Okay, this plus will be power. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the power line. If you look at the Arduino schematics, you can see that the second pin here, the second pin right there, is power. So what we do is we plug in here, there, and then we jumper that over to the power rail. So now what I've done is I've created this whole line here is now going to be at 3.3 volts. And so I can use any line on there that I want. Okay, you can see that blue they use on the board is ground. That's the negative line, and so I'm going to use blue to be consistent with what they have. And I'm colorblind, so I think that that is blue. Yes, that is blue or green. I don't know. All right, ground is this white one here. That is the ground line, so I'm going to plug that in here and then plug it over to any one there. And now this whole blue line is ground. And this, you know, the power, I didn't have to plug it in the top one. I could plug it in anywhere, and it's going to be, you know, plus 3.3. It doesn't really matter. So, but one of the things that people do is that they'll plug it in like the top two like this, and so then you have it really clear at the very top that it is plus and minus. That's perfectly fine. The only issue that I have with that is that I'm going to use some of these pins in between, and so I don't want to have to cross over lines, although I'm going to have to anyways. So whatever, it doesn't really matter where you put it. You can put it there, you can put it here, doesn't really matter. Okay, now the TMP36. TMP36 is the temperature sensor. It's going to measure the temperature in your room or throw it in your refrigerator, wherever, and it'll give you the temperature. Okay, it's really easy to hook up, but a lot of people get it mixed up. And I'll go through why. So you basically can put it anywhere that you want, anywhere like not in the Arduino space. And so I'll just put it down here somewhere. Doesn't matter whether I put it here, 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 here. Doesn't really matter. You can't put it like this, because if you put it like this, all the pins will be shorted. So it has to be like that. It has to be across. But it can be anywhere you want there. So I'm just going to put it in here like that. All right, now the layout is shown here. The from the top down. We're looking at this TMP from the top down. I orient it like this. I have the flat edge here, round. This now is going to be ground. All right, so I'm going to take a blue wire. I'm going to wire the blue wire from there to ground. And it can be anywhere along here. I could put it way down here. I could put it way up here. Doesn't matter. Okay. This pin here, looking at my schematic, is 3.3 volts. 3.3 volts is this line. And so I'm going to take a red line, and I'm going to run this red line over there. Like that. And there we go. Now I have it powered up. All right. So now the TMP will actually do stuff, but I want to actually read the data. All right. And so this middle line is going to be the data line. And I'm going to hook that up to any of the analog pins that I want. It's an analog sensor, so I'm going to hook it up to an analog pin. So I'm going to choose yellow because it's really easy for me to see yellow as distinctly different than red and blue. And I'm going to put the yellow here, and I'm going to plug it into any of the analog pins. And let's see, the analog pins start. So this one is the voltage out. This is a ref, and then analog 0 is right here. So I'm going to plug it into analog 0 pin. Okay, there we go. Now we actually have our analog TMP36 hooked up, and it is done. So we have V out coming out of here, the V 3.3 volts coming out of here, going into there, going along this rail, coming out, and then going into our TMP36 here. Ground is coming out of this pin and going into this rail, coming out of this rail and going into the TMP36, and then data is hooked up here and coming into analog pin 0. All right, now what we can do is turn our attention to the Arduino sketch builder, and I just have Blink hooked up. One of the things that I really like about Blink is that it's the simplest program that you possibly can. And if you ever want to test your Arduino, then you just simply plug it in like this, and you change the blink time to be like, I don't know, 250 milliseconds, something like that. Give it like a really fast blinky. Oops. And then you click upload. It compiles the sketch, you can see, and then it's uploading it. You can see it uploading, and then you can see that my LED is blinking quite quickly. So I know that my Arduino is working. That's great. And you don't have to do that every time, but I just do it on occasion just to check to make sure that everything's working. So now let's go look at an example of basics, and this is analog read serial. So analog read serial, what does it do? Well, it starts the serial port, okay, so it's going to communicate with your computer. Then it is going to read in A0. A0 is what we have the sensor hooked up to, which is fantastic. What a coincidence. Then it is going to print that sensor value out to the serial port, to your computer. Then it's going to delay by 1 millisecond. Okay, that is really too fast. So we're going to change that to 100 milliseconds because we don't want it to spit out so many values so quickly. Let's upload and see if it works. Cross our fingers in hopes that it works. Da, 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 da. Compiling the sketch. Ooh, is it going to work? Da, 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 da. Still compiling. Now it is uploading. And there it goes. Okay, So now there's no blinking light. There's no indication that the Arduino is doing anything. Is it working? Well, what you have to do is you have to click on this little serial monitor over here. You click on that and it will start reporting values. Okay. So you can see the values that it's reporting are like 190, 180, something like that. Now let's try breathing on this. You can see that the values went up to like 200. Okay, now they're gonna sort of head back down as it cools off a bit. So that says that it's working. So my sensor here, my TMP36, is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. So you can see now that the TMP36 is actually doing something. It is measuring the temperature here. It is uploading that, and it's reporting the values into the serial port there. Now what we're going to do is hook up the open log and actually do something with the open log. But we'll do that in the next video. Okay, thank you.